Finance Committee meeting is called to order. Mr. Johnson, are there any members of the public who have registered to speak?
Yes, sir. Today we have two public speakers. First being Murray Bowden.
What seems to be I don't know how to explain this. It's come up time and time again. There doesn't seem to be an understanding of what positive train control is. So I'll have to go over it again. Positive train control was designed 10 years ago for a different environment. The environment changed. It no longer is a valid way to do it. And nobody can seem to stop it. In the last Bridge and Tunnel meeting, there was a discussion about how things are changing, and we have to learn how to do things differently. Bridge and Tunnel is changing. Metro North is not. Long Island Railroad is not. I feel a little embarrassed to stand here again and tell you that the technology called positive train control should not be implemented any further. And you need to learn how to confront the federal government when they're still using an outdated technology. George Will, in his column 4 days ago, said, we're still using airplanes that were designed 50 years ago. And he made the point that technology has not, the use of technology by our government has not kept up with reality. I have no idea how you confront the issue of a technology that's costing millions of dollars, is not the safest way, and how do you stop it? There was a discussion about rear-end collisions on bridges and tunnels. That doesn't happen with my car. My car stops when it gets close to the car in front of it. And that technology will be in all cars in 3 or 4 or 5 years as a standard feature, the same as seat belts are now in a standard feature in your car. I apologize for repeating myself ad nauseum, but somebody has to learn how to confront the issue of wasting money on outdated technologies.
Thank you, Mr. Bowden. The next speaker, Jason Pinero.
I don't know why you guys have to listen to a maniac, cynical brat. We don't need people like him standing here explaining to you guys that we need to spend the money wisely and not being like Mr. X and using the term money thrown away. We're not here for that. When you guys select the procurement process, it should be an open competition, not selecting the first bidder that comes into the door and offers you this, and then you guys end up spending more money that we don't have, the city has, the state has, and not even the federal government under Donald Trump. We should invest more, having new technology like this car right here that could be found in Philly that replaces tokens and even our Metro cards. It is time to be in the 21st century. And all stations, even above ground and at grade, should have Wi-Fi. Because what if a person uses a smartphone or tablet that has limited data? it wants to access the subway time app that gratefully has been updated, or for those commuters that live places like Long Island or upstate in Westchester County that have limited data, how they could find out if the trains are going to be late or time or canceled. We don't know that. So I will end my remarks by saying this. Don't become a bureaucracy agency like I call the port unauthorized, because they have a series of issues that they have to resolve as well. That will be my remarks.
Thank you, Thank you, Mr. Pinero. That concludes our remarks.
Thank you. The minutes of the June 19th meeting are in the committee book. May I have a motion to approve? Second. Any changes to the minutes or comments? Hearing none, all in favor? Opposed? Abstaining? The minutes are approved. Mr. Johnson, are there any changes to the work plan?
There are no changes to the work plan, and there's no budget watch today. We do not do a budget watch presentation in the months where we have a financial plan presentation. Mr. Bob Foran, our CFO, on Wednesday will be presenting the July financial plan at the joint meeting of the full board and the finance committee meeting. So next would be Finance Watch, and Pat McCoy is here to take us through that.
Good afternoon. Finance Watch appears on page 22 of your committee materials today. Just a few transactions to report. I'll do that quickly. On June 14th, we had the MTA Dedicated Tax Fund variable rate refunding bonds remarketed under a new letter of credit through TD Bank. That transaction has been successfully remarketed. Next, we have $500 million MTA Transportation Revenue Bond Anticipation Notes. As you can see here, this was put out for competitive bidding, and we had 6 of our senior managers participate and submit winning bids, the largest being from Morgan Stanley at $250 million, and then you see down the line Bank of America, Merrill Lynch, Citigroup, JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, and RBC all took pieces of that deal. And the all-in TIC associated with each piece is listed there in your committee materials. Lastly, we have on June 27th, we put out for bid our normal monthly fuel hedge. This is about 2.9 million gallons of ULSD, and the winning bid was submitted by Goldman Sachs J. Aaron at an all-in price of $1.52 per gallon. And that hedge covers the period June 2018 through May of 2019. And that concludes Finance Watch. Just one last thing. We did just wanted to let the committee know that on Friday we successfully closed the TIFIA loan for the Moynihan Train Hall, and MTA is providing contingent credit support for that transaction, and so that is completed now.
Okay. Next, MTA HQ and all agency items. Paul Hebry.
Yes. For headquarters, there are 12 competitive procurements for a grand total of $229.5 million. I would like to highlight 2 procurement actions. One is for a miscellaneous service contract for a total of $225 million. It's on pages 34 and then 37 through 38 of your board books. The procurement action recommends that the board approve an award of a competitively negotiated all-agency miscellaneous procurement contract to Sprague Operating Resources to provide petroleum-based transportation, heating fuels, and related services. This competitive procurement consolidates 11 existing contracts under one agreement. Sprague will provide 6 types of fuel, as-needed tank maintenance, and other off-site retail fuel card services. The contract will be for 36 months with 2 one-year options to be exercised at the authority's sole discretion. The next procurement action is for executive recruitment services. It's contract number 16359. It's on page 39 of your board book. It recommends that the board approve the award of 7 competitively negotiated personal services contract to the 7 listed vendors in the board book. The term is for 5 years, which includes 2 one-year renewal options from August 1st, 2017 to August 31st, 2022. The recruitment firm will design a tailored and customized strategy which will take into account an agency's specific job description and requirements. These contracts will be used for recruiting positions from agency president all the way down to a division head or deputy division head. The contracts are zero-based and will be utilized on an as-needed basis without any obligation to the MTA and its agencies to commit a minimum amount to any of the 7 firms. The fees are found to be fair and reasonable for all 7 proposed awardees. We also have a procurement action for Oliver Wyman Actuarial Consulting. This is for $1.7 million. We're recommending the board approve and award a competitively negotiated personal services contract to Oliver Wyman Actuarial Consulting to provide actuarial and risk management consulting services in connection with the self-insured programs of the MTA agencies and the programs insured through First Mutual Transportation Assurance Company, MTA's wholly owned captive insurance company. The total not to exceed cost of $1.74 million is for the 5-year contract. It will be funded through the Risk and Insurance Management Department. The following procurement is for NICE-TEC, which is for consulting services for rail control center, data center, disaster recovery. The MTA seeks to write an OGS contract to provide consulting services for disaster recovery for our Livingston Plaza data center. And disaster recovery planning enables the MTA data center managers, hardware and software administrators, and user groups to recover proactively from any outage to our system or to our data centers. Furthermore, NICE-TEC will provide business impact analysis, application recovery procedures, and a disaster recovery plan to the IT department. This is followed by a procurement action for AFT. AFT projects at 2 Metro North overhead bridges on the New Haven line. That's $250,000. These are competitively negotiated contracts. We received 132 proposals, and the duration is 18 months. Mr. Chairman.
And those items 11 and 12 are design or all-in costs?
Yes, all-in costs.
Okay. Before any questions or comments, may I have a motion to approve? Second. Questions or comments? Ms. Vanterpool.
With regards to the personnel contracts, why do we need 7 different firms? And can you let us know the positions, not every single one, but the positions that are actually being sought? So there's a description in the staff summary that says positions such as, but it's not, we're not told exactly what positions are being recruited for.
The positions range from, again, agency president to a division head or a deputy division head within any of the MTA agencies. And the contracts can last for a duration of 5 years. Since we do not know can anticipate which vacancies will come, we try to be as specific about the level of and importance of the position, but we cannot predict exactly what we're recruiting for. And the reason for 7 firms is we like to keep a number of firms available to us to use. Those are contingency fee based, meaning you only get paid if you are successfully able to recruit and fill the position with a certain duration after which the person joins the MTA as a guarantee to make sure that the individual is capable to carry out the duties of the MTA.
So do each of these firms specialize in a category of position or skill set or training? Is there any overlap?
There is some overlap over these firms. It does not limit MTA's ability to have more firms rather than less firms, but it gives us more flexibility should one firm be less than stellar in delivering qualified individuals. We could easily switch and work with another firm. Yes, thank you.
Anyone else? We have a motion and second on this package of procurements. All in favor? Opposed? Abstaining? The procurements carry. Metro North? Nothing?
There are no actions for Metro North.
Okay. Then, Mr. Johnson, back to you.
Yeah, we have an action item for the Long Island Railroad requesting board authorization for the MTA and the Long Island Railroad, jointly the MTA parties, to enter in a funding agreement with the New York State Urban Development Corporation, where they would fund the final elements of the Moynihan Phase 1 West End Concourse enhancements work, including interior finishes such as cladding and detailing, exterior finishes such as signage and lighting, and the design and installation of energy-efficient LED lighting and displays, and a customer installation commitment under the MTA Energy Services Program Agreement with the New York Power Authority to fund the LED element of the WEC enhancements. I think we need to vote.
Before any questions or comments, may I have a motion to approve? Second, questions or comments? Hearing none. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstaining? The procurement carries. Back to Mr. Hebrea, I think.
Yeah.
For New York City Transit and MTA bus operations, we have 4 procurements for a grand total of $61.7 million. 2 are non-competitive procurements for a total of $12.1 million for testing and evaluating new technologies. That's on pages 46 to 48 of the board book. 2 are competitive procurements for a total of $49.5 million. 1 is for an RFP to evaluate technical factors in addition to price, and 1 is for the modification of an existing agreement for an extension and additional funding, also on pages 49 to 53. Mr. Chairman.
Questions and comments? May I have a motion to approve? Second. Questions or comments? Hearing none. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstaining? Procurements carry.
Mr. Chairman, for bridges and tunnels, we have 5 procurement actions with a grand total of $33.1 million. One is a non-competitive procurement for a total of $23 million for approval to enter into an agreement, an MOU, with New York State Department of Transportation for reconstruction and maintenance of the ramp RC connecting the southbound Bruckner Expressway with the Bronx approach to the RFK Bridge. 2 are competitive procurements for a total of $10.1 million for modifications to existing agreements for extensions and additional funding.
Before comments or questions, may I have a motion to approve? Second. Questions or comments? Hearing none. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstaining? Procurements carry. FemTech.
There are no items for FemTech. This concludes the procurements. Now to Doug.
Real estate is next.
Okay, thank you, Doug. We have 6 action items for you this month, but before I get to those, let me just note to you that for information, we have our annual report on Grand Central and Penn Retail. As the day has been long, I won't take you through those in detail, I think, but let me point out that our net income at Grand Central continues to rise, I'll say inexorably, year on year, as illustrated by a bar chart in the report, and it's up to $28.24 million this year. So that accounts for a very significant proportion of our retail income in the system, and we're quite proud of the level of quality that we've maintained there. As for Penn, as Mitch and I discussed this morning, we have obviously less space there. And we are in a period of transition as we prepare for significant renovations, but we have held the line at roughly $4 million of income on our side of the corridor, and then in addition we participate in income from the Vornado retail, which, as I mentioned this morning, has been upgraded significantly since this board approved our master lease renovations with Vornado in the last year or two. As for the action items, there are 6 of them. The 3 of consequence are all acquisitions of important property adjoining our facilities that we've been able to acquire through voluntary agreements in lieu of or in anticipation of condemnation. As I think the staff summaries illustrate, there is something of an art to our negotiating with our neighbors for facilities that we need, as the eminent domain procedure law requires us to obtain appraisals and then indeed offer our appraised value ahead of negotiations. And as is routinely the case, our counterparties have appraisals of their own. We're very satisfied, more than satisfied with these results. In each case, they reflect the end of the culmination of quite an extended period of time in trying to acquire these strategic properties. They are respectively to acquire easements in support of our flooding mitigation project at the 148th Street yard for transit, obtaining property at street level and in the basement of the Hyatt Hotel for the expansion of the mezzanine on the Lex at Grand Central, and acquisition of a property. I wish Jim Sidor were here to hear this. Former Metro Enviro property next to Croton Harmon, which we need very badly for expansion there. So again, unless there are questions, I would ask for approval of all 6 items.
Describe the 3 items that you described as without consequence? Since we're required to vote on them, and that has consequence.
Well, no, absolutely. I didn't mean to be presumptuous. We do have staff summaries that lay these out, but I will certainly identify them. We have a competitive reletting of the tellers, the ATM machines downstairs in the dining concourse at Grand Central, and in Riverhead, as was mentioned at the Long Island meeting today, there's a station that has been disused for some years in a kind of rough neck of the woods that is going to be used for ambulance services by the town of Riverhead, with a heightened police presence there, local police presence there. And the last one is in support of Third Track. It's some easements from a cemetery company there to allow us to, I believe it's to extend loading platforms.
May I have a motion to approve? Second. Are there any questions or comments? Dr. Metzger.
I too am very happy that Croton Harmon will be able to be expanded. That's been very long in coming, some 8 years, I think. However, at Metro North, a question was raised by Andrew. He thought that the cost seemed quite high and wanted to know if we had gotten comps for the property.
Yes, and in the meanwhile, my staff has provided Andrew with, I believe, a copy or an excerpt from the appraisal. Indeed, there was an appraisal by Landauer and then a confirmation by a second firm, as we generally do in anticipation of possible condemnation.
The action items being moved and seconded, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstaining? The action items carry. Now may I have a motion to adjourn? Oh, of course.
You might want to rethink. This is a question about a non-existent budget watch.
Yes.
Okay, thanks. Doug, over the last 4 months, you've noted that we are taking less in the transfer of real estate taxes as compared to our budget, and in fact less than what we had seen in the past. I'm just curious to know if that trend continued into this last month.
Yeah, it was very close to the projections that we expected that would be consistent with the forecast that we're going to be talking about on Wednesday.
So it's consistent with your new forecast, but not the old forecast.
Yeah,
Is
that's
it
right.
The same as last year, or more or less?
We're down from last year.
We're down, okay.
We are down from last year.
Thanks, that's what I wanted to know.
We did check with that. We were curious, even though we weren't doing Budget Watch, we wanted to, and it was pretty much what we had expected, actually. Yeah. Yes, that's correct. Yep.
Motion to adjourn.